Hate to brag, but we've been right every single step of the way when it comes to Democrats stealing elections, whether it's in 2020, where we called out election theft from 1,000 yards away and never wavered on that. I can't believe that we weren't banned entirely from all social media, but we were able to skate by, and look who's vindicated now. When Democrats tried to steal seats in Virginia, we illuminated all of the many constitutional laws that they broke in that state. We went line by line and showed dozens of times when Democrats broke the rules of their own constitution to try and rig the game and steal House seats. And we were right, ladies and gentlemen. Just this past week, we had Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli on our show because Democrats have now appealed to the illegitimate, that's what they call it, Supreme Court to try and overturn the ruling of the state court in Virginia. Now, here's something that's really important when it comes to separations of powers and federalism is that there are some topics, most topics, virtually all topics, where the supremacy clause is going to dictate that the state courts and especially the state Supreme Courts have the final rulings on the questions internally in the state. And how elections are run in your state is a state issue. This is the major conflict actually with some people with the SAVE Act is that some argue that it's federalizing state elections. And that, I don't agree with that argument, but that's where some on like the libertarian or more like hard constitutional right would argue that like this is an overreach of power and we shouldn't pass the SAVE Act because the federal government has no place in telling people how they should run their elections. Anyway, the Virginia Supreme Court, of course, trashed the election, said it was unconstitutional. Then Democrats appealed to the Supreme Court in order to overturn the other legitimate court, the Virginia court. And of course, the Supreme Court smashed it down. This was predicted on our program, by the way. They aren't going to entertain this. They won't even get to laughing. They don't have jurisdiction. The state Supreme Court is the final word on state constitutions. And ladies and gentlemen, there it is. The Supreme Court officially rejected Virginia's attempts to restore Democrats' illegally gerrymandered congressional maps. Boom. This happened in the small hours of the evening last night, and it's gone. You have to have a federal cause of action in order to appeal to the Supreme Court. You have to say that my rights have been violated. This is something that, something that is like deeply hard coded into our constitutional right, my freedom of speech, my freedom of commerce, my freedom of movement, whatever, Fourth, Fifth, Seventh Amendment. You have to be able to say there's a federal law that is being broken on a state level. And so Supreme Court, you need to step in and smash down the state that's gotten out of control. And they, of course, don't have a federal cause of action here because the state Supreme Court in Virginia acted totally lawfully. Democrats are losing it, though. This was effectively their last option. This was their last chance to try and flip this map. It's over now. It's over. They're dooming, by the way. Lids are seething. Supreme Court deals blow to Virginia Democrats in fight over court election map ruling. Virginia Democrats suffered major legal defeat after U.S. Supreme Court declined to intervene in a high-stakes redistricting dispute, leaving intact the Virginia court ruling invalidated voter-approved congressional map overhaul. It wasn't voter-approved. They won 51-49, and something like 70% of the what should be illegal mail-in ballots that came broke for Democrats. There's no way to tell who was voting. There are, I think, hundreds of thousands, if not more, criminal aliens in Virginia. All of them could have voted. All of them probably did vote. It's an illegal referendum. The only reason that they won this referendum was unaccountable and most likely illegally cast mail-in ballots by foreigners. Okay? I'm just going to say it. All right? That's my prediction. And we've been really right about these things. So that's what I believe. The justices denied state Democrats' emergency request to block Virginia court's decision, which found the amendment process violated the state constitution. As we said time and time again, lawmakers advanced the proposal. Early voting had already begun in the required intervening election cycle. SCOTUS acted in a brief, unsigned order with no justice publicly dissented. So it's a unanimous decision. The Virginia Supreme Court ruled 4-3 that the procedural defect incurably taints the resulting referendum vote, killing Democrats' efforts. Now, I love this, by the way. Democrats spent like $100 million trying to get this done. They lit that money on fire. Then they got smoked in their own courts. They have now had a massive black eye. They've pissed off the Republicans of Virginia. They've infuriated them. Virginia is very much a purple state. It's like 50-50, as best as you can get. And the Supreme Court has smashed them down. The map will remain as is. Hakeem Jeffrey is livid. The DEI attorney who can't even spell his own name, he misspelled the words attorney. He spelled it attorney. He misspelled the word senator, and he misspelled the word Virginia in this filing to the Supreme Court, which he sent to the wrong court. He sent to the Supreme Court of Virginia instead of the Supreme Court. This guy his name is Jay Jones. He's a literal low IQ DEI failure. Humiliating for the state of Virginia. The map that will be used is Democrats 6, Republicans 5. That's a +4 for Democrats. As official Supreme Court has rejected the map. Hakeem Jeffries is miserably humiliated, called it maximum warfare, and everyone is cheering right now. Just a reminder, they sent it to the wrong court. This is how incompetent these people are. We have a competency problem. It's over. Justice prevails in Virginia. All right. Now it is finished. You started it and we will finish it, right? Wrong. Now it's finished. SCOTUS unanimously slams the door. In your desperate appeal, Virginia Supreme Court killed your gerrymander. The highest court in the land said, no, this is the checkmate, ladies and gentlemen. And this is what Ken Cuccinelli predicted correctly on our show, exactly as it would happen. Might as well take a victory lap here. Here it is. Thank you for subscribing. We were right.
What are the chances of the Supreme Court reinstituting this map?
Zero. Now, you're so far down the road, they aren't even going to entertain this. So, you know, I watched Jason say there on the Hannity clip you showed, they'll laugh it out of court. I know what he was saying, but they won't even get to laughing because the Chief Justice who sits over the Fourth Circuit isn't even going to advance it onto the full court because they don't have jurisdiction. And you didn't need to go to law school to know this. You just need to remember your civics class from high school. State Supreme Courts are the final word on state constitutions. And that's what this decision was. And they're trying to desperately say, well, they referred to federal cases. And for the non-lawyers, we refer to cases all over the country that talk about similar subjects that might have useful thinking. That doesn't mean they govern the outcome of the case we're in. And that's the situation here. And so they're hooking on to the fact that they talked about federal cases to suggest to the Supreme Court that there's a federal issue, federal question that they have jurisdiction over. And of course, we have a Supreme Court of the United States that has actually been very particular about not exercising jurisdiction where it does not have jurisdiction, unlike most of the rest of yours and my life from the U.S. Supreme Court, where they just took everything in and it was very political. That is not what this court does. And of all justices, I suppose you could get the hardcore conservatives, but the Chief Justice is persnickety about that. And I say that favorably, and I don't always say favorable things about the Chief Justice.